I'm Jim Gordon, co-host of the weekly television series, Our City Tonight. I'm excited to be back with my colleagues at the Richmond Sentinel to produce more video content for you, our readers and viewers. Over the years, we have produced some content, including covering a lot of the elections here in Richmond and BC. We think this content is important, and we want to provide as much information as we can to you, our readers, and, as I said, viewers. In our Richmond Sentinel Spotlight today, it is Mayor Malcolm Brodie. He is Richmond's longest-serving mayor. That's next on this edition of the Richmond Sentinel. Well, now we're here with Mayor Brodie. Thank you for joining us here today, sir.
Oh, it's a real pleasure for me to be here with you.
On the other side of the glass, of course, we've got the protective glass, as you do in your office here with the rest of the council members. 20 years, as I mentioned off the top, you've been doing this job 20 years here in Richmond, Richmond's longest serving mayor. Can you talk about the last year, which I'm sure has been the most challenging? You came in late 2001, shortly after 9/11, for those of us, remember that, old enough to do so. How has the last year been?
The last year has been absolutely unique. There's been nothing ever like it, certainly in my lifetime, and I'm sure most people would say the same. From my point of view, in doing my duties as the mayor, I do many, many different things, but it's a hectic, nonstop go type of environment. And all of a sudden in March of 2020, everything ground to a halt. So there were still a few meetings. I was working mostly from home for a number of months. And the number of events went from lots to
zero.
Nothing. To nothing.
Yeah.
Now, there are now events that are happening. They're mostly over Zoom or they're done virtually. But it's only just a small trickle of what it used to be.
One of the trends I've seen over the last year, and you alluded to it, is that things had to change. People are adapting, pivoting. You are here working, but walking through the halls to come here today, every time I've been in here, it's just a beehive of activity. Talk a bit about the challenges, as you said, Zoom, Skype, adapting, but has business been able to carry on? Is it just carried on differently?
Well, at first, things ground to a halt, and people had to get used to the new way of doing things. Now, fortunately, the technology allowed for that, because I've often said that if this happened even 5 years ago, much less 10 or 15 years ago, it would have been very, very different.
Good point.
So now you've got everything from Zoom to all your iPhone devices, the smartphones, to the tablets, to the laptops, and everything is made so that you can work remotely. Now, people hadn't fully adjusted to that. All the meetings were virtually in person. It was felt that a virtual meeting had great limitations, and we've worked around some of those limitations to a point that, with different methods, we're getting the work done. Now, at the beginning, in March of 2020, City Hall just closed. You couldn't come in, except for a few senior staff and the councilors and me as mayor. Everybody was working from home. And many of those people were working from home most of the time as well, me included.
Right.
We then got to the point that we could allow the public to come into this facility, into our City Hall. And we've been able to kind of operate like that for a long time until just a couple weeks ago, when we were shut down once again. The doors are locked, and aside from a few senior staff from time to time and the councilors and the mayor from time to time, there's nobody here.
You obviously look for feedback wherever you can get it from your citizens here in Richmond. How have people been reacting to the rollouts of the vaccines? I know that everybody says they wish it would move faster, they wish there were more of them, but you had your shot recently.
I did.
How has the experience been for people, and including yourself, and what kind of feedback are you getting? Because I'm hearing overall pretty good.
Well, one thing I'm going to remind you about the people of Richmond, we have a very diverse population. Over 50% are Chinese origin. The number of Caucasians is something less than 30%. And So people got onto the program very, very early on. And so even things shut down in March. But 2 months before that, when we had the Lunar New Year, the crowds were very thin. They weren't anything as to what they had been. People were used to wearing masks. And so the people of Richmond have really taken a lot of precautions, and it's shown up in the statistics. I believe it's a big factor.
Right.
So rolling that to the present time, of course, now the ambition, the objective is to get as many people vaccinated as we can, as quickly as we can. I was at the River Rock for my vaccination. You didn't have to ask me twice when the time came. Boy, I was on that phone as soon as I heard that word. I'm on the phone. I make my appointment. I go in at the appointed time. It was beautifully organized. Just to give you an example, at the River Rock, you had a lot of the folks who are YVR employees or associated with YVR were doing all the intake, the screening, the organization, and marshaling people to their appropriate spots. They did a fantastic job, and I was, the actual shot process, it was in and out in just a very few minutes. Had to wait there for 15 minutes after I had my shot, make sure everything was good, and off I went. So it was, for me, it turned out to be virtually painless at the time and in the aftermath. And as I say, you didn't have to ask me twice. That was a shot that I wanted to get as soon as I could get it, remembering that just because you have the shot doesn't mean you're set to avoid COVID. Under any circumstances, you can still contract this virus for a period of time. And then, of course, sometime later, you've got to come back for your second shot.
That's a really good point to bring up in terms of getting the shot, and I think it's about a 2 to 3 week period where you've got to still be cautious. You'll always be cautious.
You're right.
I'm glad to say a couple non-COVID questions to you. If we were talking a year and a half ago, one of the questions I'd want to ask you is, and it is, I guess, kind of COVID related in terms of, are you able to still focus on other projects? This city has a lot that they want to address. I've talked to you about this over the years, about things you want to get done. Are you still able to focus a lot of attention to things like a new hospital? Of course, last time I talked to you, we were talking about the tunnel and what to do with that. Can you still put a lot of attention to those things that Richmond needs?
We're assisted by the fact that the rules come down from the provincial health authorities, and it comes through Vancouver Coastal Health for us. They give the rules. We have to look at the rules and figure out what we're doing with our buildings, the facilities, the playgrounds, the exercise areas, the oval, all the different facilities that we have, and work within that. So at the beginning, we were really quite consumed by what do we do with all the various facilities, the playfields and the swimming pools and whatever. What do we have to shut down? How long do they have to be shut down? That kind of thing. And also, our city council process was completely compromised because we quite quickly went to the virtual meetings. But how do you entertain delegations? How do you get the public input? How do you keep the public involved? So many of those details are now worked out. And so yes, if you look to our agendas, they are quite full. At the beginning of the year, before the beginning of the year, we took all the committee work and did it as committee of the whole, all of it, because the agendas were reduced and we were able to do that. When we got to January, we said, okay, we need to go back to the committee system. We have the standing committees and they will do their work. So planning committee is now twice a month, and all the other committees are once a month. We have the general purposes committee made up of all the council members. That's going as it always has. And we have the 2 council meetings every month. So that's a long-winded answer to say that as things come up, we can deal with them.
Right.
It's just that at the beginning, it just took so much of our time and attention that, as you would reflect, things really did quite grind to a halt for a while.
Last question to go out on. As we mentioned, 20 years you've been mayor of this great city, BC's fourth largest. Give us a couple of your highlights. I'm going to maybe be a little presumptuous and think 2010 might be up there, but give us some of your top highlights of the last 2 decades.
Well, if you're talking about events, of course, 2010, there's nothing that compares to that. We had a remarkable time. We built the Richmond Olympic Oval. We had the long track speed skating here. We entertained over 500,000 people in our O-Zone, our entertainment zone over in Minaroo Park. And the infrastructure that we were able to generate besides the Oval was the Canada Line.
Right.
And that really has been city changing if you look at our city center. So if you go away from the events and you're talking about the last 20 years, you're talking about all the various buildings, the facilities that we've been able to build, the community centers. We've got more established libraries. You name it, all the way down the line. Everything from a police station, we've totally redone the fire stations, et cetera, et cetera. But in talking about the kind of facilities that we have, I don't want to miss out on the qualitative side of Richmond, which is really important. We have a very diverse community. And so I think we've been able to preserve our quality of life in a way that was not assured, and we've had to pay attention to it. So we've had to have the cultural harmony strategy. We've had to look at affordable housing to provide affordable housing for people in all the various developments that are coming in. We've provided some houses or units for the homeless in the temporary modular housing that we've worked with the government on. We've definitely emphasized that side of the equation, including the seniors, the youth, the people, everybody in between, to make sure that there are facilities and activities for everybody in our community. And I think by concentrating on our quality of life, I think that we've maintained a safe, balanced, healthy, coordinated city, which is our aim.
Hey, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you also welcoming us into your office. It is Mayor Malcolm Brodie, Richmond's longest serving mayor. He came in October of 2001, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Great talking to him, and of course, he's here working. We appreciate you watching another one of the conversations with the Richmond Sentinel. I'm Jim Gordon. We'll see you next time.